Welcome to another episode of Kurdistan This Week, where we bring you the latest in the Kurdistan region from NRT Studios in Somani. The Kurdistan region's coronavirus outbreak continued unabated this week, setting a new single-day record for new cases on Wednesday, with 955 infections. A relative bright spot for much of the outbreak, Duhok has become an area of serious concern, surging past 10,000 total infections on Tuesday. On August 1st, the governorate had just 581 total cases. Last weekend, the region passed 40,000 officially recorded cases, which is almost certainly an undercount, and 1,500 deaths. Despite the continued seriousness of the outbreak, the Kurdistan regional government remained silent about new mitigation strategies. The next hurdle comes when some primary and secondary school students return to the classroom in the coming days and weeks. The KRG's Finance and Economy Ministry said on Thursday that public sector salaries paid out next week will only be cut by 18% rather than the expected 21%. Salaries for senior officials will be cut by the same amount as they were the previous month, between 21% and 50%, depending on their pay level. Both Erbil and Baghdad are hard-pressed financially because of low oil prices and are engaged in a long-running budget dispute. The global coronavirus pandemic has also had a negative economic impact on both governments. Erbil failed to disperse salaries at all in March, April, and June this year, and cut salaries by 21% in disbursements in July and August, leaving many families in the lurch. Unlike previous austerity schemes where the government withheld portions of public sector salaries with promises that they would be repaid in the future, the KRG has made no such assurances this time. On Thursday, farmers protested in front of the offices of the KRG Ministry of Agriculture and Water Resources in Erbil against the presence of cheap imported potatoes on the local market. It has become a classic protest tactic. The farmers dumped their produce on the ground, saying that they cannot compete with the foreign crops and were losing money as a result. They specifically called for a ban on potatoes entering the Kurdistan region from Iran, saying that they needed to sell their spuds at 200 Iraqi dinars per kilogram, but the imports were selling for just 90 dinars. Previous protests, including another one in Erbil in July, proved embarrassing for the government, which scrambled to respond by putting a ban on imported tomatoes. Announced with fanfare, it is common for the import bans to then quietly lapse. Kurdistan Region President Nechervan Barzani met with U.S. Special Representative for Syria Engagement, Ambassador James Jeffrey, on Tuesday to discuss the state of intra-Kurdish talks in Syria and ongoing efforts to counter Islamic State militants in Iraq. Barzani's office said in a statement that Jeffrey praised his host for encouraging cooperative talks between the Movement for a Democratic Society and the Kurdistan National Council, the latter of which is backed by Barzani's Kurdistan Democratic Party. The U.S. and other coalition countries are brokering discussions between the two factions with the goal of presenting a unified Kurdish position in negotiations over Syria's political future. The veteran U.S. diplomat met with Syrian Democratic Forces officials in northeastern Syria last Saturday. Following a forest fire west of Somani City, head of the Somani Provincial Council, Azad Mohammed Amin, on Saturday accused the KRG of carelessness, saying that it needs to increase budget allocations for forests and the environment. Amin said during a press conference that the provincial officials are unable to adequately perform fire mitigation without a proper budget, and encouraged the KRG to increase local funding to address the issue. Local officials denied rumors that the fire was set deliberately in order to clear land for development. Fire also recently burned a large section of Goija Mountain, north of the city. Finally, violations of press freedom continued in the Kurdistan region this week, with Sunday marking a month since KDP-affiliated security forces closed NRT's offices in Erbil and Duhok without a judicial order. Both offices remained closed as of Friday afternoon. To mark the unfortunate milestone, the Metro Center for Journalist Rights and Advocacy called on lawmakers in the Kurdistan Parliament, journalist syndicates, and media outlets in the Kurdistan region to increase pressure on the KRG and the ruling parties to stop violations and adhere to the rule of law. Then on Tuesday, journalist Bahroz Jafar was arrested in Somani after lawyers for Iraqi President Barham Saleh filed a lawsuit alleging criminal defamation for several articles he had written criticizing the politician. He's expected to be held at least until September 30th. Metro Center, Reporters Without Borders, and the Committee to Protect Journalists have all called for his immediate release. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Kurdistan This Week. If you'd like more information on these stories and others, check out our website, nrttv.com/en, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.